Hey, John, got another special guest coming in here today.
Honored to have him.
Honored to have him, sure. He and his company are relatively new to Repfabric, but not new to CRM, just new to Repfabric. So really looking forward to getting his perspectives, and also his company is also a little unique considering he's in the HVAC world and a Hardy member and what have you. So
and up in the Northeast.
No further ado, we have Jeff Woods from SRGI. So hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm fine. How about yourselves?
We're doing great. Thanks so much for being on with us. We're looking forward to learning more about you and learning more about your company as well. And then just, hopefully some best practice sharings as we go. All right.
Yeah, so Jeff, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your company. How did you get into the rep business?
We could be here all day if I wanted to talk about how I got into rep business, but here I am, and firmly entrenched in the industry after over 25 years. And my history almost follows that of the company itself. I joined when SRGI, before it was Sweeney Rogers, was a really new company. I want to say at the time there was 6 employees, and I took a quick detour after 5 years. I took a detour for 5 years, went to a different company within the same industry, ended up back here, and we merged with another company called Repfabric Geraghty a little over 15 years ago now. And with them came some pretty substantial lines, and we built off that basis as well as the existing lines that we had. And really, nothing happened overnight. As I mentioned earlier, it was a million baby steps along the way, a lot of trials and tribulations, but it's been a dynamic company. We've gone through several different iterations and changes and configurations. We acquired another company just under 3 years ago now, down out of the Pittsburgh area, which gave us access to accounts down in the Mid-Atlantic area. And that was, part of our vision was to grow globally, try to get out and expand our footprint, and also continue to strive to be basically the best rep agency that we can be, to be that sought after agency that when a manufacturer comes to town, they're looking for a new rep, we're at or near the top of their list of who they think about to hire.
And you said it was 6 employees when you got there. How many employees do you have now?
33 employees now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
spread out
dynamic growth.
Yep. Yeah. It's amazing to think about. And the team that we have now, it's never been stronger. We foster a strong culture. We hire within that culture. If a person doesn't fit the culture, we don't hire them. It's pretty simple, but it's important to us that the people that we're bringing on board are basically the same mindset we are when it comes to striving for excellence, customer service, and also serving the manufacturers to the best of our abilities.
Culture's the name of the game, right? In the rep business, and it's all about relationships.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. Yeah.
So interesting. So how do you find new people today? As you're growing and kind of the business is shifting, where do you look for new great reps?
It's a great question. Great reps certainly don't grow on trees. We occupy a pretty unique niche in any industry. To try to explain to somebody exactly what a manufacturer rep does is very difficult. I've defaulted at times.
My kids still don't know.
Yeah. I've defaulted at times to telling people in my family that, we're plumbers or we sell toilets. It's very difficult to verbalize, exactly what it is. And that goes for when you try to find new people. You almost need to find somebody who has had experience in the past, although we don't like to poach from competition. That has happened, or somebody from, within the wholesale industry. And again, there's certain things that you don't want to tread on.
That's tricky too. Yeah. It can be tricky.
Yeah. It's, so there's a lot, we serve a lot of different masters. Therefore, it makes it difficult for us to just go and pluck somebody out of thin air. So we've had luck hiring people from within the trades. Some of those have turned out to be some of our more stellar employees because the work ethic, the product knowledge, the inner knowledge of how the industry works.
Yeah, they speak the language, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then when they take it a step further, really what you need to do is build up their sales skills. And if the best way I could put it is if the person has the drive and the energy to want to try to switch industries or switch roles within the industry, there's something there that it can make them a good salesperson. I don't know a better way to describe it other than the fact that they've got the drive to learn and strive to be a good salesperson. Again, good salespeople don't grow on trees. So you need somebody that has that credibility within the industry that the customers automatically trust. And like you said, speak the same language.
Nice.
Well, and you guys are very unique in your industry as well because you've got very technical sales, right? You have lots of projects. Every building that you're putting boilers into, air conditioning into, are all custom designs essentially. So I would imagine that stitching together the various component pieces of your line card can be pretty challenging. And so getting someone who's already familiar with the industry is almost essential in order to be able to quote projects, right? How do you guys do that today?
Absolutely. It does take a certain amount of patience and hand-holding when it comes to new employees and finding new people out there. And I should back up by saying we've had a fair amount of people that we've hired from within the industry, from within the trades. We have a few decent people that we've hired from outside the industry who figured it out, who just came along, and whether they had a combination of gift of gab, sales skills, whatever it takes. I didn't come from the industry to begin with either. And I'm not a technical person. However, I had a desire to learn the products, at least to the best of my abilities. I'm not going to go out there and install one of these systems, but I certainly can guide somebody through that. And that's the case of some of the other people that we've had, that have come on board that, they want to learn how to do this. They're not necessarily going to be the most technical people, but at least they know where to find the information. They're trustworthy and responsive enough to be able to help customers through whatever problem they're having. And if they can't get to the solution by themselves, they know who to pick up the phone and call to get them to help it.
Nice. What are some of the cool projects that you guys have worked on?
Some of the residential projects that we've worked on before are incredible. Personally, I've been inside so many multi-million-dollar homes that were, halfway through construction just to see the amount of work and the amount of design that goes into these places. And it's always really interesting to see. I've been in we've had projects at MIT, Harvard, the big institutions up here in Boston. It's always neat to see what goes on behind the scenes in these big. They're famous for education. They're famous for their excellence on one hand, but on the other hand, behind the scenes, you have a whole crew of dedicated people that keep these facilities up and running, and that's always amazing to me to see what it takes. Right? Yeah, what it takes to keep a place like an MIT or Harvard or any of the big universities up here going.
Keep them running, That's pretty
especially
cool.
in the the rugged weather we've had in the last several years, right?
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Very cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, Jeff. Your company is relatively new to the Repfabric platform, so I'd love to hear from your perspective what attracted you to it and what are you enjoying about it.
The thing that attracted me, first of all, the relationship with Hardy. You guys walked in with some instant credibility because you already had some Hardy partners or Hardy reps that were on board. But seriously, the biggest hook for me was it's a program, it's a CRM program designed by reps for reps. You guys came with the knowledge, having been on the manufacturer side, the rep side. You know what it is that we need, and also what we don't need. Other packages, and we studied many others. They're all great in their own way, and sure, they suit their industries that they're geared towards very well. But they would provide almost too many options to the point where it was just redundant. You were on the economic side, you're paying for all these things that you weren't using, but on the other side, it just caused so much more headache when it came to little things, like just making changes and trying to, shoehorn it into exactly what we do. So Repfabric to me was a great solution because you came with just what we needed at a time when we really needed it. I will reiterate something that we had talked about previously is that our manufacturers in the last couple of years have become very demanding when it comes to what information we're able to provide for them. And if it didn't happen, our saying now is if it didn't happen in Repfabric, it didn't happen.
I love that.
And that's how the manufacturers look at it. There's no more anecdotal, well, we call on these guys all the time and they really like our stuff. And I did a training the other day. If it wasn't put in Repfabric, it didn't happen. That's the bottom line. And because the level of reporting that they're demanding and the amount of detail that they're requiring is one big piece of how we're interacting with them now. The other piece too is, it's forced us in a good way to revamp our sales process. Now, we've always had a sales process, but it was never really formalized in a way that we could say, step one, do this, step one, do that. Having Repfabric, having opportunities, being able to input custom fields so that we could profile our customers better, all of this has given us a roadmap for our salespeople to follow that makes it much easier for them to execute on the sales process. It sounds simple, but everybody does things a little bit different. This more or less brings everybody in line so that, yes, they could still do it their own way. Everybody has their own style. We have people from within the trade, people who didn't come from the trade. They all kind of approach the sales process a little bit different.
Yeah.
But in order to be able to communicate that to the manufacturers, to help them understand what value we're bringing to them above and beyond just going out and fixing their problems, it's very important how we are able to position and communicate our efforts. And that's what Repfabric gives us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And has that been kind of, like I said, you're relatively new, but your adoption's very high. So is that how you get people adopting? Is just showing them or listening to them, or what's been your secret when it comes to adoption?
Force.
Sticks and stones and
Yeah. It's more of a carrot than it is a stick. And
Okay.
you know, for us, honestly, it's you know, the way our bonus structure is set up is that if the company wins, we all win. And this is a big piece of how we win, whether it is satisfying the current manufacturers that we have and proving to them what our value is, and genuinely doing the right things that it takes to grow their sales, but also to attracting new manufacturers that value what we're able to bring to them. So it's a multi-layered need for us that, like I said, Repfabric does fill that for us pretty well.
Nice.
Awesome. Cool. How do you guys do things like with your follow-ups, like quote follow-ups, right? You guys probably invest a ton in engineering these different projects with multiple lines spec'd in. How do you guys kind of chase those down and make sure they don't fall off the radar?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's always a challenge because there are a lot of quotes that we do that aren't necessarily heavily designed work. Some of them are tire kickers, just calling and looking for a number. But the ones that are important, they're the ones that, you know, certainly hit a certain dollar threshold. They show up in first of our quote module, but also too, they fold over into the opportunities. So we have an inside team that executes on most of the quotes, does the actual physical part of the quoting, and it's up to the salespeople to pay attention. And we prompt them on that now, to pay attention to the quotes, the open quotes, pay attention to the open opportunities, and follow those through. With the way that the opportunities are formatted, you know, we're constantly asking them, what's the next step? Who's the competition? It forces us to get better at knowing who the customer is, knowing who the competition is, by making it all right there in front of you. There's blanks on your page. You need to fill them in. You need to be asking the questions. We're not doing this for our health. We are doing it for our health.
And some food on the table.
We're not doing it to make more work for people. We're doing it to, you know, but it's a challenge to keep on top of those quotes, because we have one guy, for example, that he sits at a desk all day and he may crank out 4 or 5 decent sized commercial boiler jobs. Some of the larger, you know, VRF projects, those are in the works for multiple years, months, maybe years before they come to fruition. And I'm sure you guys have seen in your lives that these things just don't happen overnight, and it's easy for them to fall off the table. And it's up to us to go through. And again, the way that it's formatted, the way that the reports are, you know, we're able to print out reports and create various dashboards for our people. It makes it easy for them to identify which ones are important and which ones aren't. And if they're missing that, we're finding out for them and letting them know.
Is there anything that you were hoping us to ask you that we didn't ask you yet so far?
Let me think about that. I can't think of anything other than, you know, maybe some success and or failure stories, I guess, you know, I could share with regards to how, you know, Repfabric helps us out.
Yeah, no, we'd love to hear those for sure.
Yeah. On the success side, I mean, I can't really list any failures. I mean, it's mostly, you know, for us, it's if we don't use it, it's a failure. And that's probably the biggest object lesson that, you know, we're trying to instill in our people, is that we have failed if we do not use this. We're paying for this service. We are behind it 100%. We believe that this is the way to go. And if we're not inspiring everybody in the company to perform on this level using this product, then we failed them. And we have utilized the success stories to be able to, again, inspire people to jump on board. And for the most part, it has worked.
Nice.
You know, I'll just share with you, there's projects that we all have experienced them before that go sideways. And there's a lot of said, she said, this happened. And like I said before, if it's not in Repfabric, it didn't happen. And the ones of our people who document their efforts very well are the ones that really do help clear up those situations in a meaningful kind of way to help us to move forward.
Nice.
So in that respect, yes, it's a problem solver. It's a CYA measure. But also from the manufacturer standpoint, the ones that are demanding the effort to help them understand, okay, what we're doing on the sales side of things. And this to me is the most important aspect of it, is that you have a product that the manufacturer is all ginned up about and they introduce it. And that particular product isn't all that that they think it's going to be, and it's not necessarily accepted by the marketplace. Well, it is helpful to be able to communicate back to them the days of being able to call that manufacturer up and say, we don't think that this is going to sell. You know, it doesn't meet the certain market requirements. And without elaborating any more than that, I think you guys get that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's easier to show them now by documentation. Called on this contractor. This contractor said, I don't like it because A, B, and C. It's the wrong color. It's the wrong price. It's the wrong size. You name it. And being able to document those situations in a meaningful way to feed back to the manufacturer gets them to act.
Yeah.
Right.
And frankly, it also makes your manufacturer better too, right?
Exactly.
So they get that feedback and they understand why it's not working.
Exactly.
They can maybe shift their marketing technique or look at coming out with that different color product or whatever it might be. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really, that instead of the anecdotal, instead of the gut, hey, this is what I think is going to happen. This is what we see. This is black and white, folks. This is what we're telling you. This is what the market is telling us. They appreciate that. They may not like to hear it, but they appreciate that feedback is coming from a place of not just, again, not anecdotal. It is from the industry, from the field, direct from the customers, voice of the customer.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it. Love to hear the origin stories as well, but about you and the company. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And then, just one other thing is if people see you, want to reach out, manufacturer maybe, or another rep, are you on LinkedIn or email they can send to you? Or
Certainly, I'm on LinkedIn. The company's on LinkedIn. You can follow SRGI Rep on LinkedIn, on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
And I'm easily reachable by email or through the general company email box. Because am I okay to say that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sales at srgirep.com is the best way to get a hold of somebody at the company, and we always respond.
Cool. All right. Sounds so good. Thank you so much, Jeff. We appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
you
much.
guys. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.